Last night, Iran launched the most significant wave of military attacks ever directed directly at Israeli territory in less than 2 hours. It's more than 200 projectiles consisting of ballistic missiles and armed drones hit various strategic points inside Israel. This is not an empty threat, not just a diplomatic bluff, and not a proxy attack. This is the deadliest retaliatory attack since the first. Conflict flared from country to country and its scale is very large. The attack began at exactly 20 to 40 local time. Warning sirens sounded in Tel Aviv, Haifa, Ramat Gan. 2. ASHDOD. Israeli radar systems recorded the launch of more than 120 ballistic missiles and about 70 combat drones from Iranian territory and the direction of the Caspian Sea. All were launched almost simultaneously, not randomly, but in a coordinated formation. Within minutes, flashes of interceptor missiles filled the sky. Defense systems, such as Iron Dome, David's Sling and Arrow 3, were immediately activated. However, the wave of attacks was too big. Some missiles escaped and reached their targets. Haifa experienced a large explosion, the port area, when one of the missiles hit a fuel storage tank at Ramat David Air Base. 3 explosion points caused serious damage to hangars and logistics lines, even in Tel Aviv. To missiles managed to penetrate and cause structural damage in residential areas. This is a real test for Israeli air defenses, not a training scenario, not a simulation. Iran used Zulfiqar and Desful missiles, 2 types of medium-range ballistic missiles that are capable of maneuvering in the terminal phase and traveling at high speed. This makes it much more difficult to intercept even by the most sophisticated systems. Even worse, kamikaze drones were sent first to attack radar points and defense launch systems. Several Iron Dome batteries were reportedly disabled temporarily, allowing subsequent missiles to penetrate. Some military analysts say this is the first time since Iron Dome went operational that the Israeli defense system has been forced to selectively choose targets. The volume of threats is too great to handle all at once. Last night's attack was not just a spontaneous retaliation. This attack shows a significant increase in Iran's military strategy. Some analysts say what Iran did this time reflects a gradual but planned escalation pattern. The targets targeted were not just symbolic butt-vital points that could paralyze Israel's military and logistical operations. Iran sees a combination of medium-range ballistic missiles with modern navigation systems and maneuverability in the terminal phase. Some typos identified include the Fate 110 Zulfiqar and Dashful missiles, which have high accuracy and hypersonic speed when approaching the target. The use of drones is also not arbitrary. Some drones are sent in the initial wave as a concentration breaker for the defense system. The targets are missile launcher radars and tactical command centers. This explains why systems like Iron Dome and David's Sling were overwhelmed. They even had to selectively choose which projectiles to prevent first. The results of this attack were felt not only militarily, but also socially and psychologically. Several military facilities suffered serious damage, including the Ramat David Air Base, which is known to be one of the key points of air operations. Israel in the Haifa industrial area reports indicating a large explosion that caused a major fire. Details of several areas experienced power outages.
Owing damage.
Tow distribution substations. The underground transportation system was temporarily suspended for 2 hours. This is a direct impact of the missile that escaped interception and exploded in a sensitive area. Civilians were also badly affected. Preliminary data at least 11 people were killed and more than 150 injured. Some Iran. Critical condition. The main hospitals in Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Ashkelon worked under emergency conditions throughout the night. Shortly after the attack stopped, the Israeli Prime Minister held an emergency meeting of the National Security Council, and a speech broadcast early in the morning called the attack a direct act of war and an unprovoked provocation. Will be left alone, however. Till this morning, Israel has not carried out a direct retaliatory attack on Iranian territory. Several sources said that Tel Aviv is consulting with Washington regarding the next steps. The U.S. itself has expressed full support for Israel, including the possibility of sending additional defense systems to the eastern Mediterranean region. On the other hand, domestic Pressure on the government is increasing the opposition faction cowed. This incident as evidence that Israel's foreign policy is too aggressive and detrimental to domestic stability. Many blamed the Israeli airstrike on Tehran a few days earlier as the main trigger for the escalation. Meanwhile, the regional area is starting to move Hezbollah in Lebanese, raising its full alert status. Pro-Iranian militias in Syria and Iraq are reported to be consolidating their forces in Yemen, the hot group episode. A statement of support for Iran and stated that it is ready to open a new front in the Red Sea if the conflict continues. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, though not openly taking sides, are calling for de-escalation and diplomatic solution. However, pressure on them is also increasing, especially from domestic opposition groups who consider that the silence of Arab country Iran was attacked actually exacerbates regional tensions. Turkey and Qatar pushing for emergency peace talks. Meanwhile, Russia and China are calling for a meeting at the UN Security Council. But so far there has been no concrete decision that can prevent this conflict from developing. Further attacks June 15th to 16th, 2025. Not just a military incident, this is proof that regional stability can change drastically in a matter of hours. Israel, which has always felt dominant in its defense system, is now faced with the reality that even the most sophisticated defense has limits. And Iran, which has always moved in the shadow of its proxies, is now showing that it is ready to enter the arena openly, even with all the risks. Question now is whether the world will allow this escalation to continue and for the Middle East. The question is more urgent, whether we have entered the early stages of a much larger conflict. Thank you for listening. We will continue to follow the latest developments in this conflict with a factual and critical approach. Please leave a comment, your opinion, and don't forget to subscribe for latest analysis updates. See you in the next video. Video is presented for educational and informational purposes based on facts and balanced analysis. We do not promote hate violence or hate speech against any group. This content respects YouTube's policy on hate speech, violent and provocative content, and misleading information. References to YouTube policies and laws related to YouTube community guidelines, Indonesian electronic information, and transactions loaned to the International Convention on Human Rights.